It is now common for more or less long-running series to decide to remake themselves or adopt a new direction at some time. We've seen it in The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and the eagerly anticipated Final Fantasy XVI. Among the numerous instances is the Outlast Trials, the third chapter of the legendary horror epic that has horrified players all over the world. Red Barrel's Try will take a different approach with this second edition, creating a game that is less linear than its predecessors and fully supports multiplayer. We dived back into the nightmare, thanks to the devs' generosity, and put the game's early access material to the test. Let's get right to the point. The location is the most successful component of the Outlast Trials. Talking about a plot is partially incorrect, because the title does not intend to tell a story. Instead, it seeks to establish a context in order to explain the repetition of the same objectives. The game casts us in the role of a desperate man who, drawn by easy money, ends himself at the Murkoff Corporation's laboratory. In truth, we are in the Cold War era, and the company's unscrupulous scientists have every intention of conducting cruel trials to create the ultimate soldier, apparently through brainwashing and other terrifying tactics. The victim is tossed into one of the lion's pits that the researchers have meticulously built inside the maximum security structure. With a night vision gadget attached to his head, it plays the role of the video cameras of the original Outlasts. The doctors have recreated a police station, an amusement park, and an orphanage using hideous mannequins to subject the guinea pigs to a series of painful tests. For those who are wondering, we will never be alone in these horrible regions. We shall be continually pursued by a slew of disgruntled guests due to our presence. There are also plenty of abominations developed from perilous experiments, such as the madman who drugged the protagonist to induce a terrible insanity. To top it all off, we have a sort of major enemy that defines each chapter, the opponent who is mostly breathing down the player's neck and terrifying him for his appearance. To build the settings and tests, the development team was influenced, in a not-so-subtle way, by some of the films classified as torture porn and based on scenes so horrific that they are terrible even to the eyes of people with a strong stomach. Hostel and Saw are two of the most well-known examples of this pattern, from which the Outlast Trials has taken more than one notion. Even with its extremes, the title Red Barrels is realistic, which is precisely what makes it more unsettling than other horror films. The Outlast Trials does not have a linear campaign, but we will start in the structure's dorms, which serve as a central hub, and then proceed to one of the unlocked trials, either with 3 other subjects or alone, depending on our preference. Despite these significant alterations, Red Barrel's latest effort does not abandon the series' core gameplay components. The viewer on our victim's head is vital for traveling through the map's darkest and narrowest spaces, provided that you maintain the batteries charged. In the absence of specific means to counter the opponents who populate the exhilarating scenarios, even the noble art of escaping remains at the heart of the entertaining recipe. Running away and hiding when necessary is thus crucial, as is stockpiling medkits and antidotes in order to stay healthy and avoid psychosis. The objects required for the formation of useful diversions are also significant. The class skill is new, and it can only be obtained after finishing the first assignment. In fact, there are 4 separate active powers that recharge slowly and allow you to heal the entire squad, see past walls, set stun mines, or send an electric shock that temporarily knocks out a target. By progressing through the stages, you can acquire access to upgrades that will boost your chances of survival. As valuable as these tools are, they do not greatly simplify the experience because their influence is limited in time and is frequently insufficient when it is necessary to move for a long time in an area in quest of objectives while one or more foes perform the hunting. The Outlast Trials challenge rate is definitely rather high, and the developers are aware that it should be reduced for the time being, at least for those who choose to enjoy the solo trials. The complexity of the rest is unaffected by the number of mission participants, and as you could expect, the group experience makes everything less upsetting and substantially simplifies the tasks that require you to look for objects or visit different locations. Another key issue we discovered was a lack of incentive to replay the tasks. Each exam in the Outlast Trials can be passed multiple times, however the progress is generally predictable. There aren't many procedural features, And aside from the placement of various traps or special objectives, the procedure is always the same, and there are scripted moments when the adversary on duty always steps out of the same door to start looking for you. Of course, you can attempt to complete the more difficult versions of the tasks, which are conditioned by modifiers that justify the presence of the maximum number of survivors in the game. Completing tasks, regardless of the activity, allows you to amass money to buy cosmetic items that are used to alter both the chamber in which the protagonist is locked up and the victim's physical look. Aside from the skins, this system did not appear to be extremely engaging, even in comparison to the time spent within the little space. To put it another way, the effort of purchasing new wallpaper or decor items may not be worth the candle. In terms of technical specifications, the Outlast Trials appears to be an ordinary product with a low amount of detail. Both the character models and the backdrops are just adequate, but these shortcomings are more than compensated for by an excellent aesthetic direction. The shady figures roaming the structure are terrifying, and some of them are frighteningly accurate, such as the robust woman wearing a leather mask and holding a puppet equipped with a drill in her hand to torture and tear apart her victims. The rooms themselves are well maintained, and we can tell you that touring the mannequin-filled chambers will give you the creeps. Still on the subject of technology, there are some issues with the enemy's artificial intelligence, as it appears to be completely incapable of pulling the players out of their hiding places and frequently gets stuck in front of the lockers until the prey, now exhausted from seeing the enemy stuck, does not decide to go out. In short, the Outlast Trials is an intriguing product in many ways, but it does not have much to offer beyond a few of stages that are defined by an underlying repetitiveness. In any event, we are dealing with a preliminary version of the product. It is not impossible that the game will receive significantly more material and a number of modifications to balance difficulty and AI concerns between now and the end of early access.